Hey y'all, and welcome to another episode of Beauty Told. It's your girl Britt, and today I have yet again another juicy topic. And actually, my topic is also going to be my story. So you guys get another story time with Britt. And my story is going to basically be on the topic of how to spot red flags early in the dating world. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. And of course, you guys, near and dear to my heart, always somewhere close, is my faith journal. And y'all, today I'm going to need this more than ever because my story is juicy, because it really helps me realize that when you pray for discernment, so every single morning, I don't care how busy I am, somehow or another, I'm going to pray, God, please give me discernment, because discernment is going to give me better wisdom and better judgment when it comes to business, when it comes to friendships, and more important, when it comes to relational. Because as you all guys know, I am single, but I am open to dating. So this is going to allow me to be able to take my own advice, okay? Because I didn't realize it then what I realize now. Now, part of the reason why I was able to realize that I experienced something that is going to help others is because I was able to watch the viral TikTok of Miss Risa Tisa, if I'm not mistaken. So Risa Tisa has a whole 50 plus part series that she is just kind of going over basically her own life testimonial of what she went through, different things that were questionable that she really should have taken a little bit more investigative approach to really find out what's really going on, really find out if things that this man is saying is factual or not. So you guys, it really had me wondering, like, wow, I kind of went through something similar. Now I won't to the extreme that her girlfriend went through. She went through a lot, okay? I think I picked up on some things like, this ain't adding up. 1 + 1 need to equal 2 at all times. So again, this is going to help us to be able to, my beauties, mainly my beauties, but my gents, please feel free to watch and, comment below if maybe something similar, has happened to you, because I can't say that there are not either sex that kind of deals with this. So again, I needed this faith journal, y'all, because this story, I want to make sure that I go in chronological order so that way I can keep the timeline straight, so that way you guys better follow along. You hear me? All right. So we are going to get started. So I was with a young gentleman, and actually, I'm being nice. He was a little older than me. By a little, it was a nice amount older than me. However, I do want to put this disclaimer out here. Complete gentleman, okay? He was not disrespectful. He was not in any way out of pocket or had me questioning things in that regard. There were just some things that I let kind of get through the cracks that I shouldn't have. And again, as we get into dating, you need to be more aware of certain things that don't make sense, so that way you can better detect if this is something that you want to kind of look more into or ask more about, get more information. And if it still ain't adding up, it might be time for you to bounce. Okay. All right. So without further ado, we'll get into it. Now, for the sake of identity and everything else, we are just going to call him Mark. So I met Mark at a after party. So I was hanging out with my girl. She had just recently gotten married that day, and she had a wonderful, beautiful reception. Everything was fabulous, and we didn't want the party to stop. So we ready to go all night. So it went from the reception to a let's go kick it somewhere else and let's close the place down. I'm game. Let's go. So we go, and there was this guy, Mark, who I didn't know at the time, obviously, but he was, helping out within the lounge that we decided to go to the after party with. So I'm hanging out with my friends, and we just we vibing, we having a good time. I don't really, like, your girl really don't be checking for nobody, and I really don't be paying attention when somebody's checking at me per se. A lot of times, y'all, it really do be just going whoop right over the head. Okay, pray for you, girl. So anywho, it was closer to the place getting ready to shut down. I think maybe the last 30 minutes or so. I was pretty much kind of winding down anyway, so I was getting ready to bounce pretty soon. But the guy, he approached me and he was very, like I said, he was very polite. He just kind of introduced himself, asked about me. He said that he had seen me as he was kind of helping out throughout the lounge, and he really tried to wait around to see if there was any type of guy that was accompanying me, because there was no way I could be that single and be by myself. Okay, that's cute. So, we get to vibe and we get to talking. He gets to telling me about how, he travels and he's just helping out because he's helping like his daughter, helping start up her business. It was some type of product to better go with the hookahs or whatever. So it was going to be an additional item that you could buy or purchase to go with the hookahs or whatever, and kind of enhance that. Okay, so other than that, he was telling me that he was a businessman and he had a certain amount of businesses that he has done. He's traveled the world and he's done all these things. So for me, it's very intriguing, because this is out of the ordinary guy approach that I'm kind of used to, right? So it's a little bit more on the mature level. So this has got me intrigued because I had just recently gotten my passport. And so even just the thought of like traveling just really, caught me in the moment. And I really wanted to learn more about it because that was on my to-do list going into the new year, is that I'm going to start traveling more and exploring the world. And this way I kind of have a heads up based off of what he's telling me. Okay, so had a great conversation, and so at the end of the day we go ahead and we exchange numbers. So you guys, the very next day, he caught me when I was just getting off of work, and he asked if he could take me out for lunch. And you guys, I was so dead tired. When I tell y'all, I should have just stayed home. Not that the day was bad, but I should have just stayed home. Y'all, I was tired. I don't know why I always do this, but I'm like, sure, I'll be, I'm down, whatever. And he wanted to be a gentleman. He was old fashioned, is what he was telling me, that he would prefer to pick me up, from home, and, he could be able to escort me to where he wanted to take me. He had a nice place for us to be able to grab lunch and really get to talk more, picking up from where we left off last night. Now, let me tell y'all something. Do not do what I did, okay? By the grace of God, he was a good man who wasn't on no craziness, but I would never, ever, ever advise anyone with you just meeting a complete stranger to allow them to pick you up from your actual house, okay? Yes, I did, and so far, no consequences with that, even now being, years past. But now thinking back on it, that was really a dumb mistake. So I do want to throw that out there for you guys. Do not do what I did. Do not let anyone come to your home to pick you up, because you don't know if they are all the way here and it's just not a safe move for you. Okay? So I'm just putting it out there. But anyways, obviously I said yes because I'm warning you guys not to do what I did. So picked me up, we were on a date, and while we're there, he's just really just getting to unload everything. He's basically just giving me all of the accolades that he has done. He is explaining to me how he had a staffing business, that did really, really, really well prior to the pandemic happening. So prior to the pandemic, he was able to get a lot of things accomplished in job staffing. He was his sales were, out of this world. He was making six figures in regards to just profits. So very profitable business that he had prior to the pandemic. He says later that the pandemic is the reason why business kind of just, fell apart. But, while it was going good, he was able to travel. He was able to, have different business deals. He was doing this and doing that and just, having this lovely, luxurious life, right? So okay, cool, bet. That sounds like a great time. I'm very interested because entrepreneurship at that time was something very far off of what I was even thinking. But just hearing his, story, it had me interested to maybe even ponder on the fact of maybe starting my own business and maybe figuring out what it is that I want to do. So we had a great time with the dinner or whatever. That's when he had told me that, he was an older guy. So he had told me his age. I will never forget it. He told me his age. I heard it. Remember that, because it's going to come later on. Okay. So lunch went well. He asked me if I mind going with him to go look at an apartment. Okay. I was kind of like not understanding why we were looking for an apartment when you just told me at lunch that you had your own home. But I decided I was going to wait till we probably got to the apartment so I could be able to better ask, why are you doing this? Okay. Fast forward, we visit the apartment. Apartment was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, probably like a 4. Wasn't really my cup of tea. But anywho, he asked for my opinion afterwards. And that's when I decided to bring up what was kind of in me as far as just wanting to know why. Why are we doing this? So I'm like, well, I thought you have your own home. So this is when he explained to me, guys. He explained that he is downsizing because all of the children are grown and out of the house. He's downsizing. He doesn't need all this space. He needs something that's going to be less steps. And he just doesn't want to continue on with, the maintenance of everything. Okay, fine. I kind of got it, I could understand that. But, if you told me your house is, paid in full, I probably would have just had to deal with it, personally. Another thing he was telling me is that he needed less steps because his back was hurting him. Him being an older gentleman, his back was hurting him. It was just becoming too much. And obviously, the older he gets, the more it's going to intensify. So, okay. So, that was, I don't know, you guys. That was kind of suspicious, kind of weird, but I let it go, whatever. So, number 2, because I told y'all I'm going to need this to be able to stay on task because I wasn't quite understanding, but it gets better from here. It gets better from here. So we have our third date. Okay, so I'm going to skip over the second date because really nothing really too much happened with the second date. We just had a really fun time, downtown or whatever. So nothing really much to say about that. But third date, he decides to cook for me at his house. Lord Jesus. All right, another warning for y'all. Please don't do what I did. I'm barely knowing this man. Yes, we have went through date 1. We have went through date 2. We are now on date 3. I would not advise anybody to go to someone's house so prematurely when you don't know this person from a can of paint still. Okay? Please, y'all, learn from these lessons. So aside from the red flags, please realize my foolishness in the midst of this story. So second warning is, do not go over a stranger's house that you don't know. Just saying. Luckily, my location was on for both instances. So, always have your location on. But still, don't do that. Anywho, getting back to the story. He cooks for me at his house. Great. We're ready to just kind of wind down. We're going to just maybe enjoy a nice little movie or, comedy show or just whatever we decide to find. So cool. So I go to order the movie that I wanted to view because I had been really wanting to see this movie. And it's saying, unable to make purchase. Now, the movie wasn't that much money. I can't really remember how much, though. I want to say it may have been like 10 or 20 bucks. But again, it was just going to be a great way for us to spend quality time. So after, I think twice, I'm like, hey, I think you need to update your card on this particular streaming app so we can be able to purchase the movie. And he goes into his cell phone, he plops down next to me, goes into his cell phone, he goes to the credit card, and so I'm guilty of this, y'all. Okay, so my eyes kind of do a little twitching thing where sometimes it just goes, and I got that good old peripheral vision, And I kind of noticed that the limit was very high on the card. And not only did I notice that, but this particular credit card, I'm very familiar with it. And it also kind of gives you a little bit of the, score. So I could just, but I don't even need to see the score. What I can see is the utilization is very, 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 very high. And I have warned you guys, look at my previous episodes in the financial realm about your credit card utilization, how you want to keep it low. 30% or less if you can. Try not to at least go past 50% because we got to keep it as low as possible so affordability, we can be able to pay it back. It's really high. He didn't even have enough guys to pay for the movie. So that was so that, my friends, is going to be that's going to be a red flag. Okay, that's going to be a red flag because you have to realize that in that moment, that should have shown me that finances are not where they're supposed to be. Now, with finances not being where they're supposed to be, that is an issue because money management should be important to all of us because as we're getting ourselves together with the money management, you want your partner to also be on that level as well. So this was something that it was a red flag for sure that I should have been paying attention to that. Not only that, guys, red flag number 2 was the fact that if someone is making as much as he was saying at lunch that he was making, he said he was making 6 figures, very well, established and everything, guys, not to judge, but a lot of times our lifestyles, our livelihoods usually match what we are making as far as finances. If someone is making 6 figures, this was not the type of home that a 6-figure person would have. Now, the only way that I probably could have seen it as a reasonable purchase is if you had multiple houses of this, sort of kind of build of home and neighborhood, then I could have understood it because you're into real estate at this point, and that makes sense. But no, this was his primary residence, and it did not add up to what you're telling me at lunch date, that you have all of this money that you have, accumulated over time. Even when business started trickling down, it still didn't add up, guys. So that was red flag 1 and 2, But let's move on. So I think I ended up telling y'all, I ended up buying the movie. Kind of just let that go by the wayside as well. So, third thing is I help him pack. So remember, he's moving, he's downsizing, he's getting him a new place so that way it's easier on the knees, easier on the back, easier, just being easier to, move around or whatever when he has a smaller place versus having all this room because he has kids that are grown. So he asked me to grab something off of his dresser. I don't remember what it was. I feel like it was something super simple. It could have been just a cell phone off the dresser. It could have been his chapstick off the dresser. I don't know, y'all. All I know is what I ended up seeing when I went to go grab what I needed to grab off of that dresser was his driver's license was laying on there. Now, I glanced at it because it was a very handsome picture of him. So I'm like, oh, I'm adoring the picture. Guys, what I ended up doing too, though, with these shifty eyes I got now, I shift over and realize that his date of birth don't add up to the year that you told me that you are. Your age is not matching his date of birth. Now, I'm very good with math, but that threw me off because that was a red flag. That was a red flag. Red flag number 3, y'all. Red flag number 3. Because if you can sit up here and lie to me about something as simple as an age, and it was just a year off, it's nothing too crazy. It wasn't like it was 10 years off, 20 years off, 30 years off. It was 1 year. But for me, you have to look at it from a different perspective. Yes, it was just a year off, but it's the fact that you felt the need to not be completely honest about it, that was the red flag that I didn't quite understand and I could not let myself be okay with. So I later on that evening, I didn't bring it up directly, okay? So my beauties out there, you got to find a way to kind of navigate a little bit better with how you strategy wise, you ask certain questions so that you can get the response without it seeming like snooping. Because mind you, I wasn't snooping. It just happened to have been on his dresser where the item that he needed me to grab was on there. I just happened to realize more into it. So again, that discernment, guys, because I ask God every single day for discernment. Help me to see the things that I need to see. Help me to be able to, detach from certain people that I no longer to be with, or I need to be associated with, or that's just what it is. My discernment prayer does not change because I need God to show me, and He showed me right there that he had been dishonest about his age, and I did not like that, and I didn't take heed to that. Asked him about it, in a subtle way. Hey, hon, you know what? We gotta make sure we turn up for your birthday. We gotta make it a big experience. Like, what do you want to do? So he goes into that. I was like, oh, you know what? Silly me. Now, remind me, what was the date again? When's the birthday? Like, how old we turning? Just my little, way of kind of just trying to find out what I need to find out. So he kind of still jumps around this question. He never gives me a direct age. And I think that either he forgot what age he told me, or I don't know why this, he was playing around with this, but he never really told me what I really was looking into. But once again, y'all, I kind of just like, okay, it was just 1 year, whatever. I did eventually tell him, like, hey, you told me that you were turning this age, and I'm pretty sure you told me da 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 da. Oh, it must have just slipped my mind. That's what that's what he told me. Okay, whatever. So, y'all, I think this is gonna be the biggest one yet, y'all. This is probably the red flag that's on fire that I should have seen. This was the red flag that was on fire, y'all. When I tell you, obvious, like, girl, get gone, get out of here. Yeah, I ignored it still, but I'm gonna tell you anyways. So I'm gonna call this particular one the discovery. So when I was going to get some water, it was, in the middle of the night. So yes, I had spent the night at his house. Don't judge me, whatever. So we are, laying up. I get thirsty. I go grab some water. While I'm going to go grab some water, there's a whole lot of papers just scattered on his kitchen table. Like, it's a lot. And a part of me just wanted to get my water and be out, just go back to going to laying down, mind my business. But something in me was telling me that I needed to take time to just glance at the papers. Y'all, when I looked at these papers, I'm pretty sure if somebody had a camera on me, my mouth dropped to the floor. These papers consisted of court documents that basically he was being sued by another company, and the amount he was being sued was like a ridiculous number. Y'all ready for this? Matter of fact, put in the comments what you think that number is. Okay, I'm gonna give you a hint. It was in the thousands. Okay, so y'all, he was being sued for $71,000. Yeah, 71000. Okay, I couldn't believe this. Now, as I'm just kind of going through the papers, then I come across that there is tax liens on the house. He ain't been paying no taxes. So that's another like $4,000 that he is owing. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And that's when it started to make more sense to me, y'all. So this is when my antennas was all the way up, because I'm like, okay, not only did you tell me that you're trying to downsize your house because it's got too many steps, too hard on your back, your knees, and everything else. But and again, house was paid for. So I just don't understand why you would inconvenience yourself at an older age to want to move. Even if you are downsizing, most people just find things to do within those rooms, transition into the grandchildren's, playrooms and bedrooms and things like that. So when I read all these documents, that's when I started to realize that you're not selling your home for that reason that you told me. You're selling your house because the real reason is you got to pay off all this debt that you're being sued. Because this debt has got you swallowed above the head, where this was the only thing that you could figure would be able to get your way out. Okay? So, beauties, pay attention. Now, I'm not condoning snooping through nobody's stuff, okay? Now, I ain't go digging all through his drawers and everything like that. These papers were on the table, and I went to go get me some water. Now, this kitchen table is right by the door that I come in and out of, okay? Now, again, I could have walked past the papers, but there was something in me, mind you, about my prayers every day. There was something in me that said, I need not ignore those papers. I need to look into what those papers are sitting on that table for. And when I did, that's when the discovery happened that I realized that he was lying about why he is moving. Y'all. Now, I couldn't confront him about this now. I just had to keep this well in my head that this was a big, huge thing. Now, again, when I go back to the whole money management thing and how you want your partners to be on a very good financial status, a very good financial, stability and foundation, like this was yet again another sign that let me know that might not be somebody that I would want to spend long term with. Let's even go a step further, that I would want to marry into, because had I, let's say if I had gotten married and didn't do my due diligence, now I'm going to be stuck, certain states, you're now liable too to have to help pay off these debts of your spouse. So you really guys got to pay attention and really do the ugly discussions of having to discuss finances, especially if you're getting serious, especially if things are really going, towards the marriage route. You want to be able to protect yourself and find out what it is that this person has going on financial wise, what it is that their assets are looking like, what it is that their debts are looking like. Because at the end of the day, you guys are going to eventually become one if marriage is what the end goal is. So again, I would definitely recommend having these conversations. These are tough conversations. They're never easy. Again, you do have to be at a place where the relationship is going to that, that extent, where it is going to be of not even optional. It is necessary to have these type of conversations, because this is going to be your livelihood for a long time. And for us to get married, it's supposed to be forever, right? So make sure that you are doing what you have to do. Have those conversations. Do not be afraid. Really just muster up that courage to be able to ask, because you are deserving of being able to know the answers. And if that partner is really rocking with you, you should be more than able to be able to have that discussion with them, and they don't get upset or they don't take offense to it, because you're just protecting your own behind, and they should be open and honest enough to be able to let you know what it is that you need to know. So I am so the move, y'all. The move helped put some things into perspective. So we move him into his new place. So he did finally, he sold his house. He had found him a condo, and I was helping him move. Now, when I help him move, this was another red flag. This condo had the same amount of steps as the house. So again, this is just only giving more substantial evidence of what I've already been able to track down thus far, is that you did not move for the reason that you told me. This is not necessarily downsizing in a sense. It is, but it ain't, because you still have the same obstacle that you did at your home as you do at this condo. You have all these steps that are not good for your back and your neck and your older age and da da da. So I'm just so confused, and I even asked him about it. He was like, hey, this is just temporary. I'm going to eventually move into some container homes that are going to be one level. This is just something that I needed in the meantime until I can use these funds to invest in that. Okay. All right. Now at this point, guys, things are really just not adding up. 1 plus 1 is just not equaling 2. The more he's talking, the more I'm just not really. It's becoming more unsettling at this point. So again, we need to be paying attention to things, and when it's time to exit, make sure that you make a nice clean exit. You do not have to be rude, you do not have to be ridiculous with it, but at the end of the day, if this is not going in the right direction, if you are having these gut feelings, if you are just uncomfortable, if these things is just not making sense, get out. Okay, you do not have to stay. You do not have to stay. Y'all, later on with this condo, what ends up happening, there was something wrong with his front door, whatever, so he needed to put in a maintenance request. And I'll never forget this. He was like, oh shoot, I gotta make sure that I contact my daughter so she can let her boyfriend know, because I need to be able to put this maintenance request in. I said, well, why you gotta go through all that? Like, why can't you just go down to the office? Oh, because the condo had to be put in his name because I had a credit freeze on my credit and I couldn't get it lifted in time for the application. So I just, used him and paid him a couple dollars. And y'all, when it comes to credit lifting, okay, so credit freezes is basically if you're not going to be applying for something in any time soon, you can put a freeze on your credit so nobody else fraudulently uses it. You can also have it temporarily lifted, and temporary lifts are either instantaneously or at the most it can be 24 to 48 hours. It is usually no longer than that, and most of them offer just where it's an instant removal for up to a certain time period, and then it'll automatically put it back on. What he told me was just, it didn't make no sense, y'all. It didn't add up. If that was the case, why not just wait for your credit to be lifted those couple of days? What could a couple of days have really done you? You could have stayed at the family member's house if it really was necessary. Like, it just was, I was done with the BS, because at this point, it just ain't making sense what you're doing, what you're saying, what is happening. It just ain't adding up. So beauties, at the end of the day, what I'm telling y'all, all of these little intricate red flags I was seeing, at the end of the day, what really matters is when things is just not adding up. And you see, obviously they didn't get any better. They just rolling. Get out now. Okay. So find out that the condo ain't even in his name. It's in, I can't even say son-in-law, but maybe future son-in-law's name. All right. So, all right, this is going to be the last one, y'all, because this is when I was already fed up. But this was what they say, the straw that broke the camel's back. Is that there was a moment where he had decided to just abruptly take all of his funds. So mind you, he sold his house, so he took his funds out of his primary bank. He came to where I was working. So again, the name of that bank will not be, it won't be disclosed from me, okay, because they ain't giving me no money. But he came to my job and wanted to open up a business account. He just was ready. He was just ready for it. He didn't want to keep dealing with that particular bank and their BS. He just wanted to be able to move his funds over. Great. So he brought a cashier's check over, deposited an account. Well, a lot of banks, it becomes risky. It becomes risky where sometimes they're able to put holds on your checks for an extended amount of time. So that's exactly what they did. And I guess this man had put all his money into this bank account. When they put that hold on there, he no longer had access to any funds whatsoever. He had no money to his name. So what ends up happening is that he asked me if he could borrow money to pay for his rent of his condo. Y'all, I was so hesitant. Y'all, when I tell y'all, I'm very leery about lending out money. I do not like doing it. It is not my favorite pastime. But the only reason why I let him borrow this money is because you open it at my job so I can keep tabs on it. So as soon as that is lifted, I'm going to need you to run me my money. Yeah. So asking me for that money was very bold. And I really feel as though it, again, was not a good financial move. Why would you do that? Why would you even risk that? What really happened at that bank, I will never know, y'all. But all I know is that I just really don't feel like somebody that you are early on dating should be asking you for money, nor should you be asking them for money. Like, you've been just fine up until that time. And if you were not, then that means that you need to get your finances in order before you even start dating anybody. Because there should be at no point in time in the early stages of you dating, that you should be asking either or for money. He should not be asking you. You should not be asking him. Y'all are independent. Y'all are separate until things start to progress and get to that closeness where, again, you're going to eventually get engaged or married or decide that this is final. It's a wrap. It's us against the world. Okay, then maybe down the road, yes, because finances are going to probably start putting together the whole nine. So I do not suggest that anybody let anybody borrow a dime of money. That should be a red flag for you, to be honest. That should be a red flag. And truthfully, you guys, like I said, I did end up getting my money back because I told y'all I don't play. As soon as that hoe was off, I'm going to need my money back. Thank you. Especially at the time, because I was trying to buy a house. So I'm like, Lord, this is messing me up. Even the fact of me having to pull this money out, because now they questioning why you pulling it out, why you putting it back in, what happened, da 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 da. It's just a whole big thing. But my moral of the story is that you definitely want to start reading for these red flags. You definitely want to be paying attention to these red flags, because again, they start off very small. But like I said, that one where he owed so many thousands of dollars, like that was fire alarm red. That was multiple flags. That was 10 flags waving that I still decided to ignore. But I did keep in the back of my mind because things were just really not sitting right with me. And it was just adding more and more and more and more fuel to the fire. Eventually, yes, you guys, I did go ahead and leave. I didn't necessarily use those reasonings for it, as far as when he needed the closure. But just basically just saying that we're just not a good fit, and I just really need to be able to concentrate on myself and my two boys. And now it's just not the time where I can really indulge too much into this relationship, because aside from all of that, guys, he was very, very, very demanding of my time, although I try to make as much time for my significant other as I possibly can. I wear too many hats for it to be all of my time. And with him being an older gentleman, children were grown and out of the house, businesses were, kind of falling left and right, because even his trucking business later collapsed as well. And he just had a lot of time on his hands and, wanted to spend every breaking moment with me. And it just ultimately just became so overwhelming, along with some of the things, the red flags that I was seeing, that I just had to make that decision. So again, guys, know when enough is enough and that you got to be out. Do not continue to sit on it. Do not continue to wait. Move, and move quickly, and do what you have to do to free yourself and to free that person. Because again, if you ultimately know that that person is not going to be the person for you, you obviously are not going to be that person for them as they thought that you were. So this frees both of you so that you can find who you are supposed to be with. So that way, no wasted time. There is no more wasted time. You guys can be able to hopefully end it in an amicable way and just learn from lessons to grow and to better change. And again, to be better knowing of what you want in a mate and what you don't want. Okay, because I don't want anybody that's not going to be honest. I don't want anybody who cannot manage their money well. I do not want anybody who is wanting so much of my time, because even wanting a lot of my time shows me that you have maybe too much time on your hands that you could be utilizing to do other things, find other business ventures, figure out a way to create multiple streams of income for yourself. So that's the type of mentality that I'm on, and I'm going to need my significant other to be on that as well. So that way, when we come together, it's just money making. We just money grabbing from all angles. Okay, so we winning out here. And it's two are better than one, right? So that was basically it, guys. That was just a way that I wanted you to be able to hear some of the red flags that I spotted early on in the dating. I sort of kind of ignored them. And as I ignored them, more kept coming, because again, every day I'm asking God to give me discernment, and every day he's showing me that there's different ways that I'm going to show you that this ain't working, boo. This ain't gonna work. So I do thank God for being able to show me. If you guys are loving what you're hearing, if you guys are hearing some things that really do resonate with you, that really do help you, or helps a friend, helps a family, helps someone that you've been sharing this information with, please, 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 if you have not already, please join the family and please subscribe. Hit that button. It's right there. I'm just one click away. It doesn't cost you a penny to do so. And again, we could just continue to just grow and make the necessary changes together. Guys, throw in the comments if there is, I know I can sometimes be a mess, but you know, if you want to say something to your girl, like, girl, you was dead wrong for looking at the man's papers, or girl, you helped me to understand that I need to stop ignoring red flags and I need to do better in this dating scene, so that way I'm not wasting time, he not wasting time, and we are better going forward. So I hope that this helped. This was just a story time where it really did just need to consist of me. Obviously, it's my story, so who can better tell my story than me? So, but I do plan on, of course, having continued guests coming on, and we are going to discuss great topics that, again, are only going to better us and, you know, help us as we maneuver through year 2024, y'all. It's so exciting. I love each and every one of y'all for every view, for every comment, for every like, for every share, for every subscriber. I love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And of course, as always, let's make a change.